This is the Sony ZV E10. It's been on the market for a while, positioned as an entry-level camera. It's affordable, coming in around $700, $800 depending upon how you kit it out. But is it any good? I'm gonna put it to the test, putting it in 4 different scenarios. Ultimately, we're gonna make that decision. We're gonna see how it does with photos, how it does with a vlog style shot, slow motion B-roll, and just like this, I'm shooting on the A7 IV right now. We're gonna put it up on the tripod and see how it performs in the studio. First, let's see how it does as a vlogging style camera. And if you're out there thinking like, wait, aren't vlogs dead? Who even cares? I would have to agree, but I would say that that style of shooting is still very viable as a scene change in the middle of a video. You know, if I was gonna be using this camera as a main vlogging camera, I'd probably pick up the Sony 10 to 18mm lens because I just don't think, I'm currently on the kit lens, I just don't think this kit lens is quite wide enough, especially given the fact that I'm currently using the regular stabilization on this camera. If I want to turn on the active stabilization, it's gonna crop in a little bit closer. I just don't think this kit lens is quite wide enough to handle that. This camera's biggest downfall is gonna be the rolling shutter, which is going to be that jelloing effect. You can see the lines kind of shifting back there when you're panning quickly. But for a vlogging camera, if you're just using it regularly, I'm just walking right now, you're not going to have too much of an issue there as long as you don't, try not to have any coffee or any pre-workout before you go and put this thing on a vlog rig. Anyways, I was recently out in the Pacific Northwest and figured that would be an amazing place to take some good photos and put it to the test there. I was shocked with how much I liked using it. The entire experience of using the camera, as well as the photos that I got, exceeded expectations. And this is coming from somebody who shoots with the A7 IV, a much higher end camera than this ZV E10. The photos are crisp, the 24.2 megapixels feels just right, and the navigation of using the camera was extremely intuitive. For slow motion B-roll, I think it's completely viable. The autofocus kept up extremely well, the colors had a really nice feel to them. I shot these with the Tamron 17 to 28 2.8 lens at 1080p at 60 frames a second and was very happy with the result. It might struggle a little bit if you have a ridiculously fast moving subject or if you're panning the camera around and jerking it around really quickly, because it does struggle from low performance from a rolling shutter perspective, which is essentially just this jelloing effect in the edges of your frame. But I don't think that who this camera is targeted towards is gonna have to worry about that, being entry level, typically not shooting professional level fast moving subjects. We're going through a lot here, ultimately getting to the decision of, is this camera any good? If you're digging the video so far, give it a tap on the thumbs up if you're looking forward to seeing that decision. I do think that where this camera shines is gonna be in the studio. Let's take a look at that right now. Now shooting on the ZV E10, yes, we probably lost a little bit of the blur in the background, a little bit of a depth of field change, given that I'm on the kit lens here, probably shooting around f4.5. Previously, we're on the A7 IV at a 2.8 lens, so besides that difference, I think this is comparable to say the least. And again, as a studio camera, this thing really shines. Let's take a look at this shot here compared to what I was just shooting at with the Sony A7 IV, and I think that you'll see what I was saying with how comparable it actually is. I'll be doing a lot more videos about the Sony ZV E10 on my channel, so subscribe down below to make sure that you see those when they drop. You can find some very in-depth reviews of this camera on YouTube, but I figured that this would be a really good look for y'all who are trying to make a decision and seeing what it looks like in some real use cases. So back to our original question, it's cheap, is it any good? Yes, this camera, the value here is outstanding. I'd have no problem, and I already have actually done this, recommending this for somebody for it to be their first camera, or this is saying a lot, it's actually landed a spot in my kit as my secondary, my backup camera to the Sony A7 IV. The only real downside that I see to this camera, besides lacking some high-level pro features, which again, probably not looking for that as an entry-level camera, is just that rolling shutter performance, that jelloing effect. But I think given that's the only trade-off for the price that this thing's positioned at, I think that's really easy to get past. I would suggest getting the Sony 10 to 18mm f4 lens with this camera as opposed to the kit lens, especially if you're planning on doing some vlog style shots, because it's gonna perform significantly better. I'd also suggest getting the Sigma 16mm f1.4 as a prime lens. That's gonna be a nice versatile lens in addition to that 10 to 18mm zoom. With that being said though, I'm shooting on the kit lens right now. I used it for some photos back when I was on my trip. I think it's completely viable as a kit lens, but if you want a quick upgrade, those are the two that I would suggest. If you're interested in how I was stylizing some of those photos that I was doing earlier, you can check this video out here, and I will dive into all the details for how I was doing that. But besides that, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. See ya.